here at CCOT today and visiting this facility. And first of all, I want to thank El Salvador and their president for their partnership with the United States of America to bring our terrorists here and to incarcerate them and have consequences for the violence that they have perpetuated in our communities. I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
The DHS secretary is yet again engaging in cosplay, this time in El Salvador. Nearly 2 weeks after the Trump administration forcibly deported hundreds of alleged, and I do mean alleged, gang members to El Salvador, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem toured the maximum security prison in that country where they remain incarcerated. The Trump administration is arguing that it was justified in sending the Venezuelans to El Salvador, but there are families and attorneys of other Venezuelan immigrants sent to the mega prison that have told NBC News that their relatives were unjustly targeted and accused of being gang members based on having tattoos. In fact, Mother Jones is reporting that one man's tattoo is an autism awareness ribbon with his brother's name on it, while the Miami Herald is reporting that one man has no criminal record or immigration history in the United States and may be imprisoned due to a paperwork error. Joining me now is Ankush Khardori. He's a senior writer for Politico and former federal prosecutor. Ankush, they seem to just be indiscriminately snatching people up. At this point, if you are Venezuelan and potentially have a tattoo, you can be targeted.
Yeah, it's the amount of information that is coming through the defense lawyers for some of these individuals is very striking, and it does underscore the concerns that are inevitable in a situation where you move someone through a legal process like this without any sort of adversarial element to it, right? So these people had no opportunity to mount their own defense, to say, no, you're wrong about why I got that tattoo. These very basic features of how our criminal justice system usually works, the administration has decided in this instance they want to skip entirely over it. And, you know, the prospect, of course, that even one person, let alone multiple, might be innocent and stuck in this sort of legal black hole that the administration has kind of created, I don't think there's any real precedent for it, is very, very disturbing.
I thought that Judge Boasberg issued a stay on the United States government putting people on a plane and sending them to this prison. So I'm trying to understand why the DHS secretary was down there today saying that this is a tool that the Department of Homeland Security will use. Are they not in violation of the judge's order?
Well, I think merely her going down there and saying that this is a tool, probably not. If they were to do it again and violate, like actually remove people subject to his order, the class that he has created, to that prison, the administration would have a very serious legal problem on their hands. But I would just say, it is not helpful to the administration's case here for them to be sending down the Secretary of Homeland Security, because it makes it appear that the government is actually controlling that prison. And these questions of who is in custody of these individuals are going to need to be resolved at some point, and that could really come back to bite the administration.
Not to mention the video that we just played, it is inhumane. She's using people as props. And according to reporting that I just read, some of the individuals in that prison are, in fact, innocent.
Can I just, and this is the thing that's really remarkable about the legal situation they've created, which, again, I think has no precedent, because basically these people are out here. They're not technically on U.S. soil, but they have been sent to conditions that we would never tolerate in this country, right? And then we have the Secretary of Homeland Security going in front of that prison and saying, we're going to send you here. Now, this is not where these people came from, right? These people are allegedly from Venezuela. We're going to send you here where you have basically no rights and you're subject to conditions that Americans would never tolerate.
Can we also talk about, we want to update folks on the latest of the Tufts University student that on Tuesday was grabbed off the street by federal officials. We have the video on the screen. Rumeysa Öztürk, she's a Turkish national with a valid student visa. She was arrested Tuesday. She was on her way to meet up with friends to break her Ramadan fast. Per her attorney, she was sent to Louisiana despite a federal court order that she not be removed from the state. And then for 24 hours, she was not given access to an attorney. No criminal charges have been filed. She is not the only person that has been targeted for deportation under the Trump administration. It's Mahmoud Khalil, which we have talked a lot about. There's a Georgetown postdoctoral fellow, a Columbia student who is a legal permanent resident. The Georgetown fellow is a valid student visa. There's a Cornell doctoral student who has had their visa revoked. I am very concerned that this is a precursor for the government to also target American citizens for speech or conduct that the government does not like. Is that hyperbolic?
No. This is a very valid concern because already they've taken us into, I wouldn't say unprecedented terrain, but terrain that historically we have left to some very dark chapters in American history. I'm thinking back to the Palmer raids a century ago, where the government was rounding up people who they thought were communist sympathizers, foreign nationals, sending them back. And who were those people? They weren't black or brown people. They were Italians and they were Jewish people. These are things that we don't want to relive. And in terms of like where this might head, if you put this position together that they've taken, which is that we can strip people of their temporary status and remove them immediately, together with another position they've taken, which is that they can denaturalize people under circumstances.
It's something they did, they said in the first administration and also tried to do.
Correct. So if you put those steps together, it's not inconceivable that they would attempt at some point to denaturalize some person or class of people and then to remove them using one of these sort of very tenuous theories. They haven't attempted to do that yet, but you can see conceptually that pieces are not hard to put together.